Today's people are miserable. Look around. This is something I've been noticing a little bit more and more. Look around and just pay attention. See people. For the most part, you'll look at the vast majority of people, the people that are alone, and you'll understand that today's generation is becoming more and more isolated. There's many reasons as to why somebody can, pretty much be unhappy. They're kind of miserable. And I'm going to be talking about a couple examples just so you guys kind of understand, I think, some of the vast majority reasons why today's generation is unhappy. But anyways, so this is something I've been noticing. Like with my coworkers, I noticed that the older you get, the less you care about other people's opinions and, just the way how they view you. So you're willing to just show the truth. And I notice a lot of older people, they're straight up. They'll just tell you the way how it is, you can just see it on their faces as well. You can tell when somebody is kind of unhappy with their current situation. But you look at today's generation, you look at, one of the biggest issues is relationships. Today's generation isn't getting into relationships. And this is something that I noticed from my own personal experience. When I was pretty much single, I felt alone. I felt isolated. I felt like I didn't have anybody there. I felt like there's nobody to talk to, nobody to share my own feelings with. And, you kind of need that support group. Like in a relationship, you'll notice that if you're dating the right person, you're not alone. And so I've been in this relationship. I talked about this throughout my channel that, we've been dating for about 1.5 years now, and it's been like a really good relationship, very similar to one of my past relationships. I'm going to say my 5-year relationship is very, very similar. It's actually better in my opinion, this relationship that I'm currently in. But I noticed that feeling of being alone, being isolated, it went away. I felt actually like I feel pretty happy. I feel, happy with my current life situation. So if you look at today's generation, there's kind of like, I'm gonna just say a gender war, or just like this little, like, how can I say it, like there's confusion between each other from men and women that they don't really need each other, in other words. But you look at it throughout history, people have been living together, and people are actually social. You'll notice that just talking to somebody or just being around them, it's actually going to boost up your mood. And this is something that I'll notice. There'll be times where I'm just like alone and isolated, and I'm like, man, this kind of isn't the thing for me. And then when I show up to work, I'm like, hey, even though it's work, I feel like I'm surrounded by decent company or good company, and I don't feel alone. I don't feel isolated. And you look at today's generation, they're really isolated. You have people constantly on their mobile devices. They're using social media. They're no longer connecting or interacting with people. You look at relationships, that's on a decline. Friendships are on a decline. There's so many things that are honestly coming bad from social media. If you guys start paying attention, you start looking at things like that. The other thing is financially. A lot of people, they don't understand that financially it's crushing people. Like, honestly, this is something that it's kind of bothering me. I mean, my girlfriend, she has a plan, but I'm like, you go back a couple of years, you can go and buy a house for a reasonable price, and you do that now in today's generation, man, things are freaking expensive. And it's like, how can I afford this? And you feel like you can barely afford things. And guys, I have a decent job. This is something I'm like, whoa, this is kind of troubling. I could just imagine the vast majority of people, how they're struggling. Like, I feel like I'm kind of living paycheck to paycheck, even though I'm buying certain little things for my hobbies. I'm doing activities with my girlfriend on weekends, and then I'm trying to save up. But I'm realizing, man, it's really difficult to save up just because everything is so expensive. Today, literally, I went to the store. I think I got maybe 12 items. 15 items, somewhere around there, and I already almost dropped like $100. I'm like, dude, this is freaking crazy. Because like when I was first started working, I could have dropped the exact same amount of money, and I could have probably got double the products of whatever I got. So financially, people are getting really crushed, and this is something that I notice. It makes people unhappy. It makes people miserable because they have to work more. You have to put in more work to get more money, to pretty much afford less. And it's crazy just the way how it's going. I mean, you have people working 2 jobs, maybe 3, and they don't have time for themselves. And me, like, I have one decent job, but if that was to go out of the way, honestly, I'd probably have to pick up 2 jobs. So I could just imagine somebody else's pain. And then on top of that, you know, I'm spending time with my girlfriend, so I feel like I don't have time to myself. I don't really have time to be messing around and all that. So I could just imagine some of those people that are working 2 jobs, you know, they have no time for themselves. So affordably, a lot of people are struggling, and that's one of the biggest things that's making people miserable, because they can't go and do stuff, they can't afford stuff that they want. When you go back a couple of years, it was really affordable. The next thing I want to mention is friendships. A lot of people, this is something I noticed with myself as well. As soon as you graduate high school or you graduate college, you start going your own direction. You start focusing on your own goals, your own dreams, and you don't really hang out with your friends as much. I do have friends that I still hang out with, but it's like, you know, I just hang out with them like maybe once a month or once every month. It just kind of depends on how our schedules work out and all that. You know, we'll hang out for birthdays and all that. But you look at today's generation, they're not having friendships. And friendships are one of the biggest things that people rely on friendships. You know, you build them and you start developing these connections with people, and you're like, oh, okay, you know, they're going to be with you throughout your life. And then you'll end up learning the hard way that everybody has their own goals, their own plans, and they start going their own directions, which, you know, kind of ties into that isolation, that loneliness. So anyways, guys, I want to keep this video a little bit shorter. Don't forget to smash that like button, and I'll go ahead and catch you guys on the next one.